Hello, and welcome to Building Your T-Shirt Empire. My name's Cole, and with me, as always, is Gavin. All right, so today we have Jeremy and Christy, who are the hosts of Last Call for Plastisol, the podcast. They're also both business owners in their local communities, running different T-shirt printing shops. Christy, could you give us a kind of a quick rundown of what it is you guys do?
So my shop is called Snatch and Run. We're in TAK, South Carolina, and I run an all-female owned and operated shop. We're a smaller shop, very boutique-y, and we focus on helping small businesses and corporate partners elevate their apparel. So
very nice. And Jeremy, your shop?
So I own Rock Hill Screenprinting in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is only about 15 minutes away from Christy's shop in Fort Mill. And we are your full service screen printing shop, screen printing, embroidery, digital printing. And, we cater to the traditional small business schools type customer base.
Very nice. And so what led you guys down like the path of deciding to do a T-shirt podcast? What are your goals with that right now?
Well, so I'll kind of start and Christy can kind of fill in. We both, in the last about year, we've kind of grown. Our shops have kind of grown. We've kind of got out in the industry a little bit, put ourselves out there a little bit more. Christy's on the Gildan Board of Decorators. I had a influencer deal with Anatol equipment for a while. And so just being able to put ourselves out there in the industry. And I had an open house. Christy was just getting a lot of recognition from her participation in the Gildan Board of Decorators. And so throughout all of those things, we just kind of decided like, hey, we've got some momentum going here in the industry, and we want to take advantage of that momentum and really try to push an initiative, which the initiative basically is, that we want to be community over competition. There is a lot of shops in my area that really don't like me, and I don't understand it. and it's the good old boy network a lot. And I'm trying to take this, I liken it to a brewery, local breweries, craft breweries. You go into them. There's always these craft breweries that, you see them collaborating with each other. They have it's not that they just only have their beers and they hate other beers. They participate and share and they have clubs where they get together and talk about how to make better beer together, and they have collaborations and so I'm like, why can't that be the same way in screen printing? I mean, they're all making beer and they're all in the same neighborhoods, but we're all making T-shirts and we're all in the same neighborhoods. And a lot of times we have the same customers. Why can't we be friends and help each other out grow and, focus on keeping each other in business instead of those large companies coming in, like the Custom Inks and those type of places and pushing stuff towards them. So it didn't really make sense to me. And so that's really what I was trying to come up with a way to do that. And this just blossomed from that. And Christy's got some things too.
Yeah. So just like Jeremy said, community over competition. And when we had the idea for the podcast through speaking with other shirt manufacturers, ink manufacturers, distributors, everybody was like, oh, you and Jeremy are buds. And we're like, yeah, why wouldn't we be buds? We're both doing the same thing, but in completely different ways and serving different segments of the market. The decorated apparel market is so big. There's room for all of us. Everyone's wearing T-shirts around. So we've just gotten these great opportunities to talk to so many different aspects of the decorated apparel space that it's been a really cool experience, linking everybody up and kind of networking within and trying to drive the conversation forward of how can we help each other instead of holding back each other and driving down prices and making everybody less profitable. Let's all work together and make more money, Yeah.
And what's cool is I can give Christy work and she can give me work and we're just helping each other out. We're buds. Right. Yeah. And so I can go down to another shop in the area and say, hey, I got some openings. or they might say, hey, what's your schedule look like? We need some embroidery or whatever, you know, and we can we don't have to worry about stealing each other's customers. We can just be like, yeah, I'm happy to help you out. You know, you help me out too. I'm going to run out of ink at some point. I would love to be able to come down and get some ink from you. You're 2 blocks away or a couple miles away or whatever. And,
it's funny, you mentioned stealing customers, and I feel like every middleman I've ever talked to has a whole speech about me not stealing their customers. But maybe it's just the way we do business. I don't actually know of anybody that has actively had a reputation for stealing customers. We've even, back when we were doing a lot of work for this one company that was basically exclusively a middleman company, they would literally show up at our shop with the customer, and the customer would see that it wasn't their name on the building. And it was still like, yeah, this is the person who's in charge of your sales. Just have them contact them for sales. Like, it's funny how everyone's so paranoid about it. But in the industry, I'd much rather have a guy that gives me 15 jobs a month than steal one guy that is going to order 100 shirts 2 times a year. It just doesn't make sense to steal.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And how many plumbers are there in town, right? Like,
right.
If I get 2 of the plumbers, I'll be happy. You know, I don't need all 15. You know,
and it's just like, I think it's easy to live in fear, but if you live in an abundance mindset, like, great things happen. So it's just kind of like cultivating that culture of like, we all need to stop living in fear. You know, there's plenty.
And it's the rising tides raises all ships. And as soon as people understand that, like we just saw it at the show, at the open house that we had, we got, it was probably about 95 people there or something like that. There was like 30 different shops. Yeah. 30 shops from around the country. And they were so excited to like that we were actually talking about this, and that they were like, it's so needed. Like what you guys are doing is so needed. And Christy like looked at me and she's like, why aren't we doing a podcast about this? And I was like, well, let's do it. And we're learning. We're learning. I mean, every day we're, you know, trying different things and, you know, to make it successful, make it work better.
That's how me and Gavin feel. Like, we've been retooling this podcast and trying to improve it. And for about a month, me and Gavin are just being like, what the hell is happening? Like, how are we having so many problems? How are we this bad at this? It's so frustrating. Things that you think are no big deal take like a week and a half. And we're like, how did this happen?
Well, here's...
Go
ahead, Christy. What I was just going to say is you throw a couple beers in there. Yeah. That's what we're doing. We're adding beer to the mix. So now we're burping and we're forgetting what we're talking about and everything else. So go ahead, Christy. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I am very much a person of like, throw something into the world before you're ready and like before everything's hashed out. And that's kind of how this podcast is developing and stuff, because you can't know all your problems that you're going to face like when you first start. So we just kind of, okay, let's try this setup. Let's try these microphones. Let's try Zoom one time. Let's have somebody know the questions before and then not know them and see what kind of resonates with everybody. So it's been this wild experiment too.
It's very true. I saw a clip of Mr. Beast talking about how your first 100 videos, no matter how hard you try, will suck.
Yeah.
And it's just, you could be 2-3 years in and you're like, oh, maybe I'm kind of okay at it now.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially without like a production team or whatever, you kind of just have to run on people being appreciative of the content and the actual like conversation, because you're not going to impress people with your RGB back wall. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So and that's the thing. We're not very good at it at all, but we're learning. And I just tell Christy, I'm like Christy, well, let's just keep on putting out the artwork. That's for the artwork, to put out the episodes. Let's just do whatever we need to do and not care if it sucks. And so that's just, if we can get the content out there, that would be great.
Yeah. One thing I want to add.
Gavin, you were going to say something?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? So one thing I want to add to the collaboration piece and not being afraid of your competition. Like, one thing that happened to me, it's actually good for business, depending how you look at business. So here's, for example, like in South Florida, there's a lot of screen printers, a bunch of screen printers, right? And there's a camp of screen printers that are super tight. They do not want to share. And there's screen printers that are cool with sharing. And I felt like I was in the camp that I don't care. You come to my shop, you see what I do, like, right? Doesn't matter to me, because I didn't feel just having the shop was my value that I was adding, right? My value was my connection with the audience I was serving. It's good in some sense because like for us, what ended up happening is one person we was collaborating with, and I was just having constant conversation with. Towards the end, so I ran my shop for 7 years. Towards the end, that person eventually ended up buying up my shop, right?
Oh,
and
wow.
So it's like, if you position it right, because like we had the relationship for a long time, nobody's just gonna buy your stuff just like this, right? So if you have a relationship with the person, you are doing business with them, they understand what you are. So it's easier just like switch over when it's time. Like if you want to make a different move in your career, if you want to slow down, if you want to create another business, you have relationship that's already built within your community, right? Like you and Christy could be like, hey, I want to try a new venture. Jeremy, what do you want? You want to take some of my production or whatever? So
yeah, don't say that too loud. I like new shiny things.
Yeah. Christy likes to go on new ventures all the time.
Yeah. But I mean, I totally understand that. Like, it's all about relationships. If I was shutting down shirt agency or selling or something like that, I wouldn't leave the industry itself. I mean, it would be very interesting to go and work for like a blanks manufacturer or go and develop like, a sales concept with one of the bigger production shops, maybe like help them with marketing, help them with production, whatever it is that you could like evolve into. But I think you can, be interested and excited about new things without just bailing on everything you've ever done before. You can build upon it, and then new things can be exciting to you as you evolve throughout a career.
Absolutely. And like me and Jeremy have been exposed to so many different aspects of this industry now. Like it's like opened our eyes to like all the different possibilities. Like I'm writing for magazines now, and like I work with Gildan, and like that's so cool, all the marketing stuff that they're doing, and like how they're bringing American apparel back, and just like learning about all these things that each of the different parts of the industry does. I didn't know that if I would just stay boxed up into my own screen printing world, like, oh, I need to sell 100 shirts today or whatever. It's really good to get exposure into other parts.
And I think the other bonus from doing this type of style of podcast and really just putting yourself out there is the fact that you start to make friends in the industry. And those friends are like invaluable. Like they're so crucial to like how you succeed, and you can lean on somebody. We talked to Brett Bowden the other day and from Printed Threads, and he basically said, man, there's like those type of people. It's so good to have people that you can like lean on in the industry that understand what you're going through. Right. So there's this idea, like me and Christy, of sharing stuff, sharing our jobs, and, not to the point where we're like, I'm not giving her everything, she's not giving me everything, but we're helping each other out. Right. So it's that, I think that there's this networking side of things that's like being missed by someone just holding on to their stuff and not having any friends in the industry and just kind of, being me, that is a disadvantage to them.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of dreamed of some sort of networking tool that would allow us to have rated shops that would allow us to basically like compete with someone who is a national producer. So I land an order and I realized that just the shipping is going to take 5 days because I landed it in Florida. And now I can go into a network, connect with people who are rated and we all trust. We all sit on the exact same price sheet that everyone's agreed to. And then I can just give it to one of 22 shops. And it would allow us, the big problem with being a screen printer that I've found is that I can handle 2,000 shirts or even like 3,000 or 4,000 shirts in a day or so, and it's not that big of a deal, which opens the window to this weird thing where I'll get requests for like 22,000 shirts. But at the cost that they want to print them, I literally can't just shut down my shop and do nothing but that. But I'm not big enough to actually take it on. So even as you start to be more successful, you simultaneously can't take on orders. And if there was some sort of network built up besides just personal contacts, it would be unbelievable for me to be like, okay, these 6 shops are all doing whatever, 2,000 or 2,500 units each, and they're going to be shipped to the closest locations. And that's just kind of like a higher level version of what you're talking about, where you're working and collaborating with existing shops. But I just feel like it's kind of the only way to compete with the really big dogs, because there's people who have 40 autos. And so when they get a call for 22,000 units, we're just never going to touch it. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we could take like personal connections and turn it into like a functional system.
Yeah, I like that functional system idea. I have my network, like Dylan from Upstate Merch. Like, I had this big order last week, and he's like, Christy, like, my shop can knock this out in a day. Like, why don't you just send it to me and I'll take care of you? And it just like blew my mind, because our shop is so much smaller. Like, I didn't even think to call him, but if there was some system that I could just log into and say, like, okay, who really has the capacity for this size order, and who do I know like has a good star rating where they would do a great job, and I trust them that they would do a good job, like, it would make shop life so much better, and then we could get those orders and keep them in house.
And it limits your risk, because like what I've done is I'm always like, oh, I'm getting a $50,000 CTS, or, oh, I'm getting more square footage, or, oh, I'm going to hire 3 or 4 people because there's so much work right now that I need the extra hands. And then 6 weeks later, we don't have the same volume that we have today, but you definitely have the same overhead. And so you could actually be a really profitable shop that is 2,000 square feet. And you could use a system like that. And the systems exist. It's just that they're always behind a brand. So like you hook up with someone like Fresh Prints or Custom Ink or Printify, and they've just built all of that internally so that they can be the only person selling the items. And then they have a printer partner network. But us having kind of like, I don't know, like a co-opt printer partner network where all of us can sell independently, but all of us can use it at the same price points. Could be really amazing, and it would fill a lot of people's holes.
Did we just find something new and shiny to do?
Yeah, I think we did.
I've talked about this for like 6 years. I don't. Every time I talk to people who know how to do it, they're like, okay, go fundraise like $5 million, and then we'll start it.
Here's the thing: like, my whole idea with the brewery thing was like, I just don't know how to do it. What does that look like? What is, like, how do I get everybody like on the same page with this, and I can listen to the Simon Sinek podcast and get inspired to do it. But like, what does that look like? And it took a good 1.5, 2 years before we were like, oh, it's a podcast. That's a good place to start, And so like, keep on running with it. I'm sure it's going to catch on.
Yeah, the podcast thing is a good way to reach out. The reason I started in the beginning was I wanted to talk to Danny at Bella Canvas. And Danny has no interest in talking to anyone for an hour straight. Like, that guy is he has so much he can do. Also, he can elect to just do nothing all day because they're killing it. So like, he doesn't know anyone anything ever. And I was like, if I like do 2 or 3 podcasts and then those people are good names, Danny's going to be told by the marketing department that he should do it. And then I had Danny on a private phone call for 90 minutes. And I was like, this is why you do a podcast, is you get to talk to a guy he's like basically a billionaire at this point if he sold Bella. And I actually get to just sit down with him. He would never like elect to do that. So it's kind of amazing that people get to meet through this whole like scam we're running.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
No, I think Jeremy and I had that, like our last podcast with Ryan Moore and Brett Bowden. Like we were just fangirling over them, like the gods of screen printing, you know, and we got to interview them. It was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, they're awesome guys. Brett is like, he knows everyone. He's like a social butterfly.
Yeah.
That was fun. And we get to go to water-based camp and, you know, participate in that. So
yeah, Made Lab is awesome.
Yeah. So if you're listening in, like right now, just be sure to subscribe if you're watching this and hit us a like. Whoever's going to be building this tool, put a comment or just reach out privately so we can talk.
Let us in.
Let's go. Let's see. Cole and I has been talking about this, but I think, hey, all of us got a bunch of stuff on our plate. I don't know if any of us want to take that on right now, unless Cole wants to.
If somebody actually knew how to code, like I would work on that like practically full time, because I would also be one of the first shops on the network. So like it would feed me work,
so much business,
you know?
Yeah.
And we do contract work at Shirt Agency, and like, I'm at the mercy of these people that it's like, do you want this price list? Yes or no? You could actually have a slightly more expensive price list if you don't have this obsession with these corporate, you know, contract deals. And we could all be really happy selling shirts for, you know, $11, $12 finished. And everyone like gets their bread in between on the chain. So yeah, if anyone knows how to code, call us and we can figure something out.
Teenagers.
Well, hopefully the AI will just be good. We'll make the AI do it.
I love AI. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Have you been using it yet in the business?
I use it all the time. I always send videos to Jeremy. I'm like, look at this.
What are you using it for?
I use it for social posts. I use it for blog writing, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Have you been doing emails with it? I
haven't dived into the email portion of it. I do it a lot for editing. And like I said, social media is big. I'm really interested, and we've been talking a lot with my friends on the Gildan board about how we're going to start like asking it to do some design work too. I really haven't dove into that, but I'm really interested in seeing how that develops too.
Yeah, I just did an article for Screen Printing magazine about how we've been playing with it, and it's like really interesting. Like, I think the customer service side is more obvious, but using tools like Midjourney, you can create like really great artwork very quick. And what I like about it is you can dump on a client like 8 templates and be like, hey, none of these are quite finished, but what direction do you like? Yeah. And you spent like 30 seconds telling the computer to make those 8 designs. It's crazy. So much better than like a clip art system.
Yeah.
It's way better than Seps.io, right?
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
Seps isn't just art creation, really. Seps is more separations more than anything.
Yeah.
I did. I did get down the rabbit hole of doing the Firefly and the Midjourney. The Midjourney wouldn't create the artwork for me because I wasn't a member. I don't know how you had to go through that whole thing. But
it's $10.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. And then the other one was the Firefly from Adobe that just came out.
Yeah.
And I started doing that. And Adobe's is free if you use it, but you don't get the best quality artwork like you would with the Midjourney. It seems to be so much better.
Yeah, I think by the time this episode comes out, and probably the ones that are posting right now, we're going to be using AI for like fun covers.
Yeah.
So it'll be like fun, crazy AI pictures with our face swapped on.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like doing that, if we actually spent the time on Photoshop doing it properly, even a year ago, it would have been hours of like intense Photoshop work. And now it's like a 10 or 15 minute project to see what's funniest.
Yeah. Well, you could sit there for hours. Like, you just keep on typing and it keeps on recreating and you're like, add this.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I spent like 2 hours on it last night, just messing with it. The one thing that and this is for everybody out there listening, the one thing that you can benefit from that AI, even that Chat GPT, is I just typed in job descriptions for all my employees.
Oh, that's
and
good.
basically here we go. Here's something I can actually use for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, here's give me a job description for a screen printing production manager, focus on scheduling, and boom, it's that fast.
You like
hiring
too?
Yeah, it's generalized. I mean, you have to go back and make your edits to it, but I did hiring a salesperson, same thing. I was like, here, give me a job description, give me, that whole kind of spiel and how I should post it. And they did it. So it works.
Yeah. The way I'm using it basically daily is me talking completely frankly to it, and then it turning me into a professional for an email. So, all right, like, listen, it's not our fault that you don't like your own color red. We match the Pantone. Just shut up. And then the AI is like, as you know, you have already approved the Pantone, and we would like you to understand that while we are worried about your concerns, we also currently have in the invoice. And it's like, it's incredible. And I can just like rattle off some random thing, and it just goes completely professional, and it's a copy paste situation. It's awesome.
There you go.
Pretty good. I haven't thought about doing that, but I like that.
Yeah, just like Jeremy, some of the things I'm doing with ChatGPT, just like you said, the job description. So I took all our old job description, dumped it in there. It completely professionalized it. Looks so much better. We took all of our stuff that we read, our systems that we wrote, like system and procedures. It cleaned all those up. So if you have those written up, it's really good. What I do now is I used to dump stuff into it, and I didn't like the tone that it was using, like as far as like, because it comes either like super robotic or super like old English or whatever, which is not my tone. So I'll just write something and I'll just say, proofread and lightly clean this up. Like, please proofread and lightly. That's my prompt. And so it keeps the same tone, but like it makes it more professional. It makes it more clean. No spelling errors or anything like that. So I kind of stick around those type of prompts.
And I've noticed mine too. Like, it seems to be learning me about like how I like things written and like what I want it to sound like. I want it to sound like me, something I would do, not just robotic.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I have to use the same program every time to get that feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that I want to do that I haven't been able to do yet is I want to train it, because I pay for the Plus. So I have ChatGPT 4, but I can now have ChatGPT 4 as my API. Mm-hmm. So if I created basically a public chatbot on our website, and I train it with our calculators and with Printavo, and even give it Printavo API access, it seems like I should be able to have a customer say, hey, when is my order due? And it can read through the Printavo API. Your order will be completed on the 13th. It's marked as having a hard deadline. Is there anything else you'd like to ask?
It's crazy.
And like, that should be possible already. It's just a matter of training it and then deploying it. And like every time I've gotten into the rabbit hole of it, my skills aren't quite there. But what's amazing is I've literally told it to write things for me, and it'll write like Python code. So when you don't know how to do things, you can tell it to do it for you. It's pretty incredible. So hopefully in like 6 months, I'll have something out there that actually allows it to like connect to SNS Activewear and Printavo and stuff. It would be amazing.
I wonder if you could talk to Matt Marcotte at Printavo, because he was creating like Google Forms and Zaps. Like if someone filled out the form on your website, it would automatically update everything into Printavo, create a customer, email the customer, like basically hands off if someone went on your website. But maybe he could know the path.
Yeah, I should talk to him. I mean, we already use a lot of Zapier with our Printavo. So like it automatically sends follow-up emails, automatically sends email notifications, and our forms like autofill and stuff like that. One thing that I did was I did a new Zapier so that it automatically fulfills our Trello. So instead of like going and searching through Printavo to see what a job is, we just have Trello cards. And so people just see a bunch of cards that they need to complete, and they move them over. And the Zapier is like going back and forth with Printavo information. So Zapier is really cool, but I just don't know how to turn some of those automations into like an active chat. That's the challenge. Every time I talk to Bruce about it, he's kind of like, oh, that's a great idea. And then he stops talking. I think no one's really done it yet. If somebody does do it, you could actually sell it as an add-on. I bet people would pay $199 a month as like the Printavo add-on. Whether Printavo developed it or somebody developed it as a standalone business that they could then link out. Because I think pretty much every small business would be like, wait, I can fire my bad receptionist? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, $199 is way cheaper than entry-level employee.
Yeah, for sure.
So is she really that bad? I'm just kidding. I almost made you spit out your water. All right.
I'm curious. How's your shop right now? Like, are you guys like busy right now? How's workload and like you guys? What's the? It's
weird. It's weird. So we had the best May we've ever had, and then last year we had the best July we ever had. You know, and so I'm like, you try to gauge that and kind of plan forward, and we're gonna make sure we're ready for this July because it's going to be busy again, and then June just like trickles down to nothing at the end of June. You move into July and we're like, why are we fighting for jobs right now? This is crazy. So it's we've kind of hit a lull in the production side of things, and which is actually a blessing for us because we're going through like business coaching and trying to do standard operating procedures and things like that to try to grow more. And so this is a perfect time to actually do it. But at the same time, you know, your employees get nervous and they're like, why we don't get to run all the, all the machines in the shop. You know, we got 2 big autos. We don't get to run those at the same time. Well, no, we're doing terrible. I'm like, no, last year we didn't have 2 autos and a manual running. You know, we only had 1 auto and a manual. So like we're actually doing better than we did last year still. Yeah. But yeah, so but we're down. I would say it's a slow month for us. It's the first slow month that we've had on all year, honestly, that's been significantly slower than previous, I guess, you know.
And for me, I got married and I was out of the shop for 21 days. I was out of the shop for 21 days. So like, I'm still feeling that a little bit. We've had a really exponential growth this year. And it kind of almost imploded my shop. We've grown so much this year because I didn't have the right processes in place before we hit the growth that we did. So I've been on the struggle bus a lot this year of like trying to find ways to ease the struggles within the shop while still managing sales and continuing those to grow. We are working, contracting some stuff out now just to kind of get caught back up. But like Jeremy, like I've noticed my email this week, it's not as full as it normally is. So that's kind of strange, but I'm just like chalking it up to the holidays. And I've already been reaching out to the schools and my small business customers, which I know they do big pushes in the fall for back to school, and saying, hey, can I work on artwork for you guys? Can I do this for you guys? Get everything ready to go. So when we hit August, we're jamming again. You know, it's fun running a screen printing shop because it's always something every day to work on. But
yeah, how about you, Cole? What do you see?
I mean, I'm not overly busy. I'm a little bit slow. It's certainly not like amazing as far as sales right now. Like I think today we're only going to knock out like, I don't know, 6 jobs or something. Like we're not like, oh my God, we have to do a dozen jobs or something every single day. Like right now we're ahead of our normal turnaround time. So like we have stuff booked. It's not like it's completely nothing, but we're not what I want to be. I want to be like booked solid 2 weeks out. I don't want to be like, oh, stay busy, guys.
Right.
But it's interesting because also, you know, you can land one client, especially when you have autos, you can have one client wreck you. And so you can go from slow to somebody giving you 3,000 units, like front, back, inside sleeves, maybe like a hit on like the arm, and you're like, okay, so now I have to do whatever 12,000 impressions, and they want you to do it in like 9 days, and you're like, well, now all my other work feels like I can't even like take it on because I have to nonstop do this. So it's weird, that swing of like, I'm slow, but I'm capable of doing a ton of work. And so you're just kind of looking around like, why can't I level out those opportunities? That's why I wish I had a client that was just like, I don't know, like working for, I don't know, Hurley or something, like one of those old school, like big brands where they're like, yeah, you're just going to be doing X amount per week, basically nonstop. I would love to do that kind of production with someone.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if that's the right. It's funny because like a year ago, you probably was, let's say, at level 1 or at level 2. And then now you're probably at level 5, right? But that level, if you dip to level 4, that fall feels so dramatic. Like at least to me, it feels dramatic when you are falling. Oh man, I'm getting slowed. Like it is extremely tough just to handle that and to appear confident to your team, because your team could feel it and they're looking at you to see, like, are we in trouble here? Like, are we gonna lose our job?
Right.
Like, I know for me, it's like even when I ran my shop, it was always that battle, and it always end up working out though. It always like, oh, we get more business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when
we know what's around the corner.
Yeah. But going through it is really tough. It's really tough to just stay solid in front of your team, like, because it's like your team will look, especially a lot of them, they depend on this job for pay their rent, pay everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's why so many people that do sell, they'll like sell their equipment, keep their name, keep their book of business, and just became a glorified middleman with really good marketing. Because if you have a bad month, who cares? You have zero overhead. So if you can like pay your own rent, beyond that, you don't even need sales. Whereas with our shops, it's like, how many tens of thousands of dollars do you have in overhead just because of payroll, rent, utilities? And like, if you somehow can't even cover the basics, forget like giving yourself additional money. And so you're like, okay, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the shop size, but like some people basically have a minimum monthly sales of $60,000, $70,000 minimum, and they only break even. So to bring in that many orders, if you're thinking with a salesperson mind, you're like, yeah, give me 15% of 70 grand and let me walk away. But when you're thinking with an owner mind, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to bring in 70 grand in sales and then I'm going to make my first $1. And it's like, it's just a completely different opportunity with controlling the shop versus just landing orders.
Yeah, I will say it's an opportunity. You get slow, you got to see it as an opportunity. And I don't think a lot of shop owners look at it as an opportunity. Like they'll panic, like Gavin said, you'll panic, and then you'll come up with something like, oh, I need to do some special project. I need to, do this mass discount. I need to do like all these different things to try to get business, to drum up business. Or I might even start like a little clothing line or try to do something that I haven't done before because, and then what's around the corner. It's the school season starts up, all of a sudden August hits and you're slammed again. And then all of that, those little things are just gone, right? Like the worry is gone. All of that, the little special projects you don't have time for anymore. And what we've just kind of seen in the last 8 years is just basically is like, well, we slow down. Let's take a break. Let's take some days off. Let's go on vacation. Let's actually, because we don't get to do that, So go ahead and take time off. Go hang with your family, or hey, let's clean the shop. Let's let's do the things. Let's detail the machines. Let's make sure everything's maintenance. Let's write procedures. Let's do these other things. Take advantage of that downtime to actually get stuff done, because you're not going to be able to do it when you're slammed.
Yeah. And during that downtime, just to add on to that, another great thing is reaching out to people that you've never worked with.
Yes, I was just going to say that too. Like, what's your hit list? What's your top 10?
Right.
Go out and get them,
Yeah, those sales leads, even if they don't become a sale for 2 months or 3 months, long term, you could bring in a customer that's going to give you $50,000 or $100,000 in gross sales over the year, and it all starts with you introducing yourself because they don't know you even exist.
Yeah, yeah,
True. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, you mentioned you're doing some consulting. Well, you're getting some consulting to help you systematize. Like, you want to talk a little bit about that? And what's your goal? What's your goal with that? What are you trying to accomplish?
So I guess I was approached with the opportunity to buy another shop, and that kind of woke me up, to say, oh, wow, I need to get my act together so that if I end up inheriting an additional shop, like, what is that going to look like? And, you just kind of start to assess your own business and go, yeah, I'm not ready for this at all. And so I hired a business coach, and that business coach was just like, hey, let's go over your systems. Let's find out what are you doing? Are you measuring KPIs? What's your standard operating procedures? Do you have time to do this? This was going down the rabbit trail of me even meeting Gavin was, what do you spend most of your time doing? Artwork. Stop doing artwork. And so just to try to, and so, take the day, work from home. You're being distracted too much, that kind of stuff. So really it's just the business coach for me has just been trying to get me to learn how to actually be a businessman and work on my business and not in my business. So that's really the goal for me and what we're working on together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Christy, what do you see your future business look like over the next few years? Are you trying to have a really big space and a lot more production, or are you trying to be kind of a boutique solution that when you get a big order, you farm it out?
Yeah. So it's really interesting that you say that. My year has kind of developed in an odd way with all the media exposure that I've been getting. So at the beginning of the year, it was my goal by the end of the year to be the middleman, like contracting everything out, like all my equipment's paid for, my auto's paid for, our embroidery's paid for, everything, but just go ahead, sell it, get rid of everything and just use my client base and outsource those to other people. But then as I got busier from the media exposure, I was like, well, wait a second, like, is this the universe telling me like I need to stay in this and take it to the next level? So I have kind of been going back and forth with those two things. And honestly, I don't know which one I'm going to do yet. I am looking at buildings to buy a building, but it's going to have to be the right opportunity too to make that work. I know I can't stay in my current space and get any bigger than I am sales wise. So I'm just kind of in this holding pattern zone of like, test the waters. Let's get our systems in place with outsourcing some, doing some in-house. And then if the right building becomes available and it makes financial sense, maybe we jump and do that,
Yeah. I mean, maybe you could increase sales and just not grow the production in-house.
Yeah. And maybe that would be great because I love sales. I love talking to people. I love cultivating new customers. I love stalking people on Instagram. And then I get a high from those people coming and spending money with me. So that's what I love to do. I don't love managing production in the shop.
Right.
I really
What?
So I'm very much into social selling and all of that.
Yeah. It took me a while to just like become almost like a public face because like that just wasn't me. I've always been like the background guy and just run operation, right? So, but when you first start your business, you got to go out there and sell yourself and sell your business.
Yeah.
So, and sell your service. So what Jeremy and both of you guys said about like building like systems and processes and what your business coach is telling you is like, is really the only way to kind of like make yourself bigger than you actually are is through those systems and processes, right? A couple of things that I found was like super helpful for me because I came running bigger businesses like for other companies before I did my my shop, but I found it really hard to transfer some of those over, like coming from a corporate to more of an entrepreneurial system, because you don't have resources. You don't have a bunch of money. You don't have nobody like paying for that, right? When you're in a corporate situation, they give you the money, they give you all the people, and your thing, you have to use your leverage that you have, which is a lot of time is not money. So a couple of things that really helped me out was like, I heard somebody was talking about, this book, and I read it. There was this book that's called Traction by this guy that's called Gino Wickman, Entrepreneur Operating System. So when I read that, it really kind of like just helped me just package the experience that I had in a way where I could apply it to my business. So anybody that's going to try to like systematize their business, like I would say, read that book. There's also another book that's called Systemology by this guy that's called David Jennings. It's so awesome. I think like if you could combine those two books, right? A lot of the stuff that you're going to get from your business coach are going to be some of those things. And it's always good to pair that up with a business coach, because you actually want somebody to kind of guide you through it. But those two books like really, really helped me just kind of build system, create scale, bring on people, like hire a lot of people. Hopefully this could help somebody out.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. The other thing that I tell like smaller screen printers than me is when you're creating systems, like do not get overwhelmed. Like start small, create one system, and then like get all the details and all the kinks worked out of that first, and then move on to the next one. You don't need to fix your whole shop in one day, and I'm living proof of that. But it does take work, and something that worked a year ago when we were at one level isn't going to work today when we're at another level. So you're going to have to revamp things anyway.
Yeah. Ooh, the dreaded leaf blower.
Yeah, I think it is really important to do what you're talking about with the systems, because even if you're printing completely alone in a garage, you can either do that in an organized fashion and like allocate your time to specific tasks. For example, like if you want to run a job from start to finish, you'll probably get a lot less done per week than if you just go and say, okay, I have booked 3 orders. I'm going to do every single screen now. I'm going to make every film now. Now I'm going to do every screen now. Now I'm going to register this job and get it approved. Now I'm going to move on. Like if you try to do every job individually, you have this thing of like, okay, now I'm waiting 40 minutes for the screen to be dry enough for me to do it, as opposed to just dedicating an hour per morning to screen time and then another hour per morning to email time. And so, yeah, like allocating time is critical to having any level of shop really function properly, because you could have 50 people in the building, and if they don't have defined tasks, it's just going to be chaos.
Yeah. And that's the standard operating procedures for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you have a shop guy that's out there, and you can train them, but then you can't babysit them, all the time. And so then you're like, all right, I expect you to multitask, but you don't multitask very well. So now I got to micromanage you, and that doesn't always fly. So, yeah, it's systems in place. Here's what I started doing was creating. I was at Print Hustlers and watched the lean manufacturing talk. I think Gavin, you were there as well, right? So yeah, I started implementing the lean manufacturing. And so like for even training, I just basically, when we were slow, in the last couple of weeks, I just said to my shop guys, I'm like, I want you to make a video on every process we do, so that when we do get busy and we need an extra shop hand, all they have to do is scan the QR code and watch the video. And then you can train them. But if they forget, scan the QR code, watch the video. And I have those QR codes all over my house now, or all over my shop now. And literally I've got a YouTube playlist of like 20 videos, how to tape a screen, how to mix ink, how to look up mix. Yeah, they're private.
That's
so
probably
it's
some really
unlisted
good content.
Well, I can share with you if you need me to, but
Yeah, no, I mean,
but yeah,
I would think that pretty much everyone would like something like that, where if I mean, maybe you could put it behind a paywall since you have the podcast audience anyway.
Sure.
But if you put that behind a paywall, I guarantee you people would love to just be like, well, he's doing a good enough job. Like, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I can just take his existing content. Yeah,
it's great because I've actually, if you, I think you look at what I noticed was in some of the reels I've been doing, because I took over my own social media again. I was hiring that out, but I ended up seeing the QR code in the reel, and I'm like, oh crap! If somebody slowed that down and actually watched it or QR coded it, it would be our private video stash of all of our videos. But like, I just eliminated the need to like babysit, in having those videos that they're going to have their phone out anyways if they slow down. So like, scan the video, watch it, do it, right? Like that's what you need to do instead of going on Facebook or whatever, Instagram. Scan the video, watch it, do the job. Yeah, and it eliminates excuses because they can't say they forgot or they can't say that they were never told. So yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah.
And I haven't implemented anything like that with our screen printing side, but for embroidery, like threading needles, putting a new color thread on, checking for common error codes on the embroidery machine. We did videos for that, and it's been very good for like getting people to just go ahead and try things before they reach out to the next person in line and have them stop working too for embroidery.
I know Gavin loves doing it because he always sends looms. So like he'll just start talking into his microphone and then you're just watching his screen that's being recorded. And it's a really good way to communicate to people directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looms are good. I just, I know like once you're not on the premium anymore, you're stuck with a 5-minute window and sometimes you need more than 5 minutes. So I was, either pay a subscription or just use YouTube, which you can do unlisted videos. You can do an unlisted playlist. So that's easy enough.
Cool. Well, thank you both so much for your time. If you want to plug ways to get a hold of your shops and also the podcast, now's the opportunity. How can people find you?
Christy, go.
Well, for me, I am Christy Schellenberger at Snatch and Run. Please follow us on Instagram. I am always on there. Snatchandrun.com. And then our podcast, Last Call for Plastisol, lastcallforplastisol.com and at Last Call for Plastisol. We have some great videos out there. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Jeremy just keeps finding new places to put the podcast. So check it out. We really appreciate you guys following us and like watching our videos. We're new at it, but we're having a lot of fun and we're funny sometimes. So
sometimes. And I'm Jeremy Ray from Rock Hill Screenprinting, and you can find us at Rock Hill Screenprinting on all the socials and rockhillscreenprinting.com. And Last Call for Plastisol. Please check us out.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, and to everyone listening, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and tell your mom about it. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks.
All right, there you go. We did it.
Awesome.
We did it. That was awesome.
That was awesome.